Thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Derric Haney, Head of Demand Generation here at Pipe17. Please let me know, assuming chat is working, that you can hear me, see me properly, and we'll keep going. We've got, seriously, quite an amazing panel set up for you guys today on a topic that honestly deserves more coverage. At least that's how I feel about it. We'll, of course, be talking about the state of the 3PL industry, the ups and downs, but mostly ups, the rise of the 4PL, the way technology is shaping the 3PL landscape, and so much more. And let's look at this lineup of panelists who we'll bring in just a little bit. Joe Spisak, CEO and founder of Fulfill.com, a marketplace that connects e-commerce merchants, hey Joe, with the right warehousing and fulfillment partners so they can grow together. Aaron Rubin, CEO and founder of ShipHero. ShipHero is both a 3PL and they've developed their own warehouse management software for 3PLs to use, which is currently responsible for over $5 billion in products sold annually. We also have our very own CEO and co-founder, Mo Afshar of Pipe17, an omni-channel order operations hub for e-commerce. And I'll share more about our 3PL connectivity suite in just a second. And our surprise guest, our last minute ad of the hour, Brian Gallagher, Chief Product and Technology Officer at Where2Go, a UPS company. Really excited to have you join us. Before we get into it, some quick housekeeping for all of you. First of all, yes, we will have a copy of this recording available to you. We'll send out an email tomorrow so that you have access. Secondly, I'd like to thank a couple of our special partners for helping to spread the word for such a great event. First of all, we have Profit Trust, small parcel audit technology that helps merchants and 3PLs automatically recoup refunds from FedEx, UPS, and DHL and get additional discounts. They work completely on a commission basis, which means you can go to them at no risk to start recouping your refunds today. Find out more about them at profittrust.com. And in fact, let me throw a quick link to everybody here in chat. Next up, we have Capable. Capable is for fulfillment centers who are proud of their performance. Truly separate yourself from the competition by certifying your on-time fulfillment and order accuracy performance with a neutral third party. And for brands, if you want to hold your 3PL accountable and track SLA performance with automated daily emails, you can download the free Shopify app. Capable, super cool tool. And I've put all the links to their website and the Shopify app here in chat. And of course, we're going to hear more from our panelists and their companies later in the webinar. So finally, let me give you a brief overview of what to expect here today for the next 40 minutes or so. We're about to go into a quick run through of the Pipe17 3PL connectivity suite. Then we'll have our partners at Storeleads present some unique data on the US-based merchant landscape, it's going to be really great to set the stage for what's changing in the 3PL landscape. Then we'll have, then we'll go straight into the meat of everything, our panel. And basically at any point from now until the end, feel free to ask any questions you might have on the industry, on our panelists, on chat, any technical issues that you have or anything like that. And we've reserved time at the end to ask these questions to our panelists. So let's get into it. So talking about the Pipe17 3PL connectivity suite, the problem that I think 3PLs are very, very familiar with selling into e-commerce is that you've had to deal with more and more integrations as time goes on. Most of these are selling channels from point of sale systems to EDI, back office systems and ERPs, and everything in between. Integrating your customers' custom-built order operations processes into your very specific fulfillment process and WMS can be very expensive, complex. It can take a lot of time to go live, or you'll downright have to refuse a customer because of how hard it is to get them live, right? And all of this is money lost, missed SLAs, and can lead to lost customers. Based on our research, we actually have found that the average 3PL spends about $368,000 a year on software and services to connect their customers, and they average losing about 8 to 12 deals for an estimated $3.85 million in lost revenue due to either slow onboarding, lack of integrations, or the process of onboarding into integrations. So Pipe17 has, of course, built to solve for this problem, right? Our omni-channel order hub for e-commerce helps merchants connect selling channels, back office applications, and fulfillment centers like yours so that they can connect, synchronize, route, visualize, and analyze their orders, inventory, products, and fulfillment. Not only is Pipe17 used by leading merchants like Wise, Noble, and Kizik, but 3PLs like Deliver, ShipHero, Where2Go, Excelsior, Barrett, and many others in the 3PL, ERP, and order management solutions have been using Pipe17 to solve their connectivity and order operations needs. This is why we've built out the connectivity suite in a nutshell. It's a complete solution for 3PLs to deliver and manage their customer connectivity at scale. Pipe17's intelligent connectors can be set up in as fast as 15 minutes with no code required and provide reliable bidirectional order, inventory, product, and fulfillment data flows between your 3PL's own warehouse management system and an ever-growing range of marketplaces, shopping carts, point-of-sale systems, EDI transactions, ERPs, and financial applications. Our operations center provides you with a consolidated live traffic view of all of your customers' activity, and then each of your customers also get a portal and visibility into their own order flows. And if needed, we provide an open API gateway so that clients and third parties can customize and expand their workflows through you. And I wanted to emphasize in this call that this is not an iPaaS. We are not custom building point-to-point solutions. On our platform, once a connector is live, everyone can integrate with it, which means once you're live with us, all Pipe17 customers can two-click integrate with you, which gets your customers live in days, not months. So if you're tired of losing deals due to a lack of integrations, receiving fulfillments via spreadsheet uploads after your merchants have manually entered or misinferred information, and you're looking to reduce onboarding times and expand your share of customer wallet, there is a better way. Say yes to more deals, cut your integration costs by 80% or more, and onboard customers in days. If you're interested to learn more, we have a special offer for you guys. Go ahead, and there's going to be a poll that comes up on your screen right now. If you are interested, you can say yes to a demo. And if you attend your first call with a Pipe17 team member, I will personally be sending you a $50 Noble gift card. All right, that is it from me and the Pipe17 pitch. Thanks so much for listening. I'm going to bring in our friend Ammar from Storeleads, and we're going to start getting into some really interesting data that shapes the e-commerce landscape and how that's affecting merchants. Ammar, how's it going? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Let me share my screen here. All right. Can you see?
Looks great. Let's have fun.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks so much for having me. I guess as a quick intro, Storeleads is the world's largest database of e-commerce data. We have our own servers. They're huge, noisy servers that mine the entire internet every day, looking for every single e-commerce store in the world. And we collect thousands of data points on these stores so that salespeople can build very specific lists. So for example, you could build a list of all the stores in the Los Angeles area that sell ethical cosmetics that added 10 or more products in the last week. But because we have so much data, oftentimes analysts use us to do industry research on what's happening in e-commerce. So as an example, this is a snapshot of what the US market looks like. You can see the number of e-commerce stores in the United States and how it's distributed across platform. You can see that Shopify by far leads the way in the US. That's not the case in other markets. WooCommerce comes in number 2, Wix number 3, stores that have built their own custom website, and then Squarespace, Square, GoDaddy, etc. And here you can see how it's distributed across sales. Most stores don't make much money. The vast majority of online stores in the United States don't make much money. So what you want to do is look at all the stores that are doing at least $50,000 in sales every month. And so we have an algorithm that looks at a store, looks at its traffic, looks at its social media followers, the number of employees that it has, and it tries to put together an estimate as to how much we think an online store is doing in sales. And you can see I've broken it down based on different buckets here and how it varies depending on the platform. So Derric, you could see here, I'm not sure if you have any thoughts, the distribution between Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, and how that might be relevant with plugins.
Of course, as we move up market, there's less and less stores. But one interesting thing that you might see here is that the number of large big commerce operators really drops off. And so maybe for 3PLs, thinking about if they're custom building their own, big commerce integration, it's like, should we be prioritizing Magento and not shown here? Of course, we have Salesforce Commerce Cloud, a couple other big ones over these. So I think there's interesting data here that helps you both from deciding who to target in sales and marketing, as well as possibly, what to build out for.
And you can see here the distribution of stores across the United States. Here I picked the top 5 states. California by far leads the way. It has 218,000 e-commerce stores, just over. Then Florida, Texas, New York, Georgia, and the list goes on. And these are the top 5 categories that are the most popular categories amongst e-commerce stores. So apparel, home and garden, beauty and fitness, food and drink, arts and entertainment. And you can kind of see how it breaks down depending on the state. And you can see, as an example, Texas actually has more food and drink stores than Florida, although Florida has more of an e-commerce market.
Yeah, very interesting. Decides where you might open your next, well, maybe sales center, or, and the flip side of this is, do we want to be building our next warehouse close to these guys or far away from them so that they might operate out of their own warehouse? So there's kind of more questions to be asked here, but the breakdown gives us at least a good analysis.
And you could break this down based on city, zip code, radius, and so on.
Yeah.
So we're also carrying a lot of weight metrics and the number of products that are on a website and the number of variations of those products that are on a website. So you can see here, the graph on the left breaks down different buckets of stores depending on the average weight of their products. And this is in pounds. And so this is a sample of just Shopify stores in the United States and how many there are in these different average product weight categories. And the chart on the right here, you could see the number of e-commerce stores, overall e-commerce stores in the United States based on the number of products that they sell. So most stores only have 1 to 9 products on their website. And then you can see here how it gets lower.
I want to see the next slide because I know this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, so this is a relationship between the estimated sales of a store and how many products they have on their website. So you could see the more products that they're adding on their website, they're making much more money. And I've excluded stores that are doing below $50,000 to see this data set, but you can see the trend is very clear.
Yeah, this is awesome. Now, of course, there might be some big guys in the total 250,000 plus bucket, but you said this is median data, right? So it's not even average, it's a median store. Really interesting. And it kind of means that, if we want to target larger and larger brands, we have to support larger and larger SKU sets, right? I think that's kind of the interesting takeaway here. And there's limitations, I think, from an e-commerce standpoint on how successful you can be with a low SKU count.
Yep. And so stats here. So we're tracking stores that are offering international shipping. Out of the 2.9 or so million stores in the United States, online stores, 934,000 just over are doing international shipping. Of those stores, almost 141,000 of them offer wholesale. So they have some kind of language on their website that promotes wholesale. And 429,000 just above are offering returns. And the US actually has the highest percentage of that, the stores that offer returns. And of the stores that sell internationally, you can see the top countries that they're sending to on the right here. Not surprisingly, the US would be number 1, Canada number 2, and then you get into Western Europe, which is very popular.
Awesome. Love it. And yeah, I mean, obviously international expansion from the merchant standpoint is just, going faster and faster. And so I think, obviously we're mostly here focused on the US market, but should we be expanding internationally from warehouse locations is the question, right? And when, or who should we be partnering with?
Yeah, or if you can detect a store that is in the United States that just started shipping to Canada, could you help them with that path? Another thing that we're tracking here is the number of Shopify Plus upgrades over time. So this is really relevant because a lot of stores that are on Shopify are upgrading to the very expensive Shopify Plus plan to unlock features that are related to logistics. So Shopify gives them multiple stores so that they can market their stores into different territories. It also gives them more locations. Locations, when you get into the shipping page of a Shopify store, it basically tracks the shipment from its origin. And the regular plans only give you so many origins, where the Shopify Plus plan will give you 20. And actually, you can talk to your rep at Shopify and they'll give you more. So many stores are upgrading for that reason. And you can track stores that have upgraded to Shopify Plus and when they have. So you can see here that Shopify Plus is really taking off and more stores are signing up.
Yeah, super awesome. And this is I think the bread and butter of who you can target is as they're upgrading to Plus, are things changing in that regard, right?
Yep. And this is how we're getting all the data. This is what the database looks like. You can build filters on the left. There are thousands of data points on each store. You can find very specific stores. You can find the people that work at those stores. And so you can see here, I built a list of all the stores in the LA area that sell apparel that have 10 or more products on their website. And if we can help at all with any data requests, if you're looking for leads, if you are looking to do any kind of market research, please feel free to get in touch. Our website is storeleads.app, and my email is ammar@storeleads.app. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ammar. I think this data perfectly sets the stage for our panel. I've also sent your link to everybody here in chat, and we'll send a little bit of a special offer to everyone tomorrow with our recap email. All right, let's pass it over to Mo, and we're going to get into the meat of this panel on the 3PL industry. I'll let you guys all take it away.
Thank you so much, Derric. And that was a great set of data from Ammar. And I was thinking through kind of some of the key data points there in terms of distribution, geographically, in terms of number of goods, and the really interesting one in terms of platforms, which is which platforms play kind of in each market segment. So with that, I'm really excited to introduce the panelists, and we're going to go in alphabetical order. So Aaron Rubin. Aaron, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing and your company.
Hey, thanks, Mo. So 10 years in the industry. We're warehouse management software. We serve brands and 3PLs. I think Derric said 5 billion a year in GMV, but it's been over 8 billion a year of GMV that flows through our system. We work with more than 10% of all Shopify Plus stores globally use our software. So we've been at this for a bit. I'll go a little bit off the script and just shout out Mo and Pipe17 in that we exist before Pipe17 did, and we used to get requests all the time, and people would use, I don't know, I'll call out Cart Rover. I'm sure there's big differences between Cart Rover and Pipe17, but the big difference I would always point out is Pipe17 actually works. So we've been recommending them to merchants that reach out to us and say, hey, my 3PL uses ShipHero. How do I connect, whatever platform that isn't native in ShipHero? And we always just point them to Pipe17, and we literally do not point them to any other one. There's plenty of others that integrate with us, and that's great. But the only one we recommend is Pipe17, and we don't get paid or anything for it. It's just the highest quality provider in the space, and we want to have fewer customer support tickets. So we want an integration partner that actually works and doesn't always break. So that's Pipe17. So that's my unbiased opinion. And then I'll just mention one other person on the call, Joe, who recently got married. So first of all, just let everyone know, congratulations. And secondly, started working with Joe a few years ago when he had a brand and then a 3PL that worked with ShipHero, was a client of ShipHero. So Joe's been at this for a bit and is legit. So just my opinion on the two players on the call. And I think that's it for me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for all of the above, Aaron. And with that, I want to hand over to Brian.
Hey, Mo. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Gallagher. I'm the Chief Product and Technology Officer at a UPS subsidiary called Where to Go. I think like everyone here, or at least on the panel here, got probably too long of a career, at least unfortunately for me, in logistics, supply chain, retail, e-commerce. But at Where to Go, we are a fully end-to-end logistics solution that connects a nationwide network of 3PL warehouses with a mission to help large and small retailers connect their end-to-end supply chain to enable them to grow faster, to compete, and provide better service across shipping, inventory management, and just the overall ability to grow and scale their logistics capabilities through a single platform. And so like ShipHero, like Aaron, we are also a partner with Pipe17. They are a strategic partner of ours that help us quickly launch connectivity for our retail customers to gain access to all of their selling channels and integrate directly into the Where to Go platform, and gives them access to all of our 3PL partners. And I think as Derric was saying, it's a incredibly fast and nimble solution, low code or no code approach to connectivity, and it's enabled us to focus on the things that matter to us while leveraging trusted third parties like Pipe17 that just help our business grow and scale.
Fantastic for that, Brian. With that, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Hey everyone, sorry my headset just died, so I'm going without that for now. But good to meet everyone. My name is Joe Spisak. I'm the CEO over at Fulfill.com. Just a little bit about my journey. So I've been in e-commerce for about 10 years now. So like Aaron alluded to earlier, I started a couple brands in the tabletop board game space. Here's one of ours called OK Boomer. We started to do pretty well with the games, did a couple mil in sales, and ended up going through 3 different 3PLs over the course of a year and a half, and just had a pretty unpleasant experience all around. So what we ended up doing was bringing that in-house. And right during the COVID time period, we started our own 3PL called ShipDaddy, which is based out of central Pennsylvania, where my new wife and I are actually from. And then over the course of probably 2.5, 3 years over the COVID time period, we scaled up to purchasing a 140,000 square foot building. Ended up selling that company, and now I run Fulfill.com. And what we do at Fulfill, you can kind of see how, we took this e-commerce experience, we took this 3PL warehousing experience, and now we sit in the middle and play matchmaker. So we have hundreds of brands coming to us a month to use our free fulfillment finder service that we offer to them. And our matchmaking team will gather their information, take that information and input it into a back-end software system that we've built that pings against our network of hundreds and hundreds of warehouses to help us narrow down to, a top 5 list of introductions to be able to introduce them directly to 3PLs that we think would be the best fit for them.
Fantastic. Great job. So with that, let's dive in. So look, I think everybody's aware during the last few years, we've seen unprecedented change in the 3PL industry, from having absolutely no capacity to having spare capacity. Obviously the rise of the 4PL, Shopify getting into the 3PL business, and then Shopify getting out of the 3PL business, from a focus to direct to consumer and B2B and wholesale. And then of course seller fulfilled prime, kind of, which is the latest to hit the streets again. So Joe, what trends are you seeing today in the 3PL industry? And what can you talk about regarding that?
Yeah, good question. And thanks again for having me, Mo. Really excited here. And I'll just add on again to everybody's praise that they've been singing about Pipe17. We've been working with them for about a year now. These guys are really high level. Check them out if you guys need help in the integration area for sure. In terms of trends that I'm seeing, there's a couple different directions I could go with this, but one of the things that I've been talking about literally for the last couple of years has been something that I've coined as the rise of the boutique level 3PL. And what I mean by that is really the ability for the quote unquote small guys of the e-commerce fulfillment industry to be able to start competing with some of the bigger venture capital backed 3PLs out there. And, what can this be attributed to? Probably a couple things, but one of the things that I witnessed firsthand while I was growing ShipDaddy, my 3PL, was just the accessibility to technology, specifically in the warehouse management space, to be able to start up a successful e-commerce fulfillment operation. So when we started this 5 or 6 years ago, we had a handful of options and an even smaller amount of options than that we could actually afford. One of them being ShipHero, which is who we ended up deciding to use. And, we became one of their very early on customers. And now, there's more and more WMS options out there as well. But point being that the small guys don't have to, raise a semi-substantial amount of capital now, figure out how to hire software engineers, manage them and build their own systems, and then start integrating into these other storefronts and channels. And, it goes even further than just warehouse management systems. You have master integrators like Pipe17. You have companies like Freight Club who can get you real-time freight rates. You have insert plug for Fulfill.com, a company that can help you fill up your warehouse with ideal customer profile that of your choice. So what I'm saying is the barrier of entry for the little guys has become smaller, and they're able to create these low code, no code systems that allows them to have the appearance and have the presence of the big guys and compete on, multiple levels, most importantly, pricing, communication, and shipping SLAs. So yeah, that's a little bit of what I'm seeing.
That's interesting. That's fantastic. So Aaron, you're in a pretty unique position, right? In the sense that you you started with a WMS that like so many people use, and then also have a 3PL business, and the two things really work amazingly well together. What is your general take of what's going on, and what do you think of this Shopify fulfillment and not, and seller fulfilled prime, and the consolidation in general?
Yeah, thanks, Mo. So we were the first partner, the only partner for Shopify fulfillment at launch. So when they were using our WMS and a few 3PLs as a 4PL, offered to buy us way back when for a lot less than they ultimately bought Deliver for, which we didn't take. I think the idea that the world's going to turn into Amazon plus one other big 3PL, and they're going to own the market from an outsourced fulfillment perspective, is not going to happen. There's too wide a range of needs for a single provider. I think Shopify took the approach, we need to be able to solve for everyone before we can scale up. A frustration we had when we were powering the network was, hey, why are we not selling to more? It's like, oh, well, we can't solve this, can't solve for this customer, can't solve for that customer. It's like, that's not the way fulfillment works. If you're trying to solve for every customer, you will not win in this space. So, a successful 3PL is not one that serves everyone. It's a 3PL that can serve the customers that they work for the best of anyone. I think Shopify didn't wrap their head around that, or didn't accept that reality, and ultimately ended up leaving the business and handing it off to Flexport. I think the way the business is going to look in the future is there's going to be bigger players than there are today. There's going to continue to be consolidation, but not to the scale of there's 3 players. There's still going to be hundreds or thousands of successful players. But some of the ones that are there today are going to continue to grow because there are some advantages to scale. And then there's some advantages to being small because you provide the customer service and the niche needs that different 3PLs need. So I think it's more of a bifurcation where if you're just, hey, we could deal with everyone, everyone's the same, no specialization, no good customer service, that's a bad place to live. You got to be either pretty big or pretty good at customer service and pretty focused on delivering for your customer. So that's the way I think the market will evolve. Self-fulfilled prime, we supported it. I don't know, Joe, if you supported that when you were running the 3PL. It's brutal. We still have merchants that do it. Good Company Ships, one of our 3PLs, I think in Missouri, does a lot, tons of it. It's doable, but it's hard. When they reopen it officially, they just said they're going to reopen it, but it's not actually open yet. Hopefully they'll be a bit more realistic. They set the SLAs higher than what actually Amazon themselves delivers. So they asked their 3PL partners to do more than what they could, which is a tough bar. So hopefully it'll be more realistic. It'll open back up. I think it makes a ton of sense. There's certain products that self-fulfilled prime is the perfect solution, right? You don't have enough stock to really be stocking both Amazon and yourself. Just use self-fulfilled prime. So I think it'd be a good thing for the market. And I think the 3PLs that embrace it, which it's a tough SLA business, so you got to be on top of your SLAs. I think they'll benefit.
Fantastic. That's super interesting. So one of the things we talked about, Brian, is the emergence of kind of the 4PL. So you guys are kind of also uniquely positioned to talk a little bit about this. And what have you seen, and what do you think will happen as we look forward?
So thanks, Mo. I think, we're seeing, some similar trends that Joe was speaking to. What we see is the demand for logistics outsourcing and warehouse continues to go to rise. As we're working with our retail customers, we see this as a result of the retailers trying to focus in on their core competencies while trying to find trusted partners to provide those logistics services. Also, a key big trend is retailers who were once content with, a direct to consumer and and potentially selling through Amazon are now looking to expand their selling channels, and they're looking to grow and diversify their business by adding new marketplaces as well as B2B relationships, trying to get their products into big box retail stores or to even function as a drop ship for larger retail. We're also seeing on the 3PL side is that they're trying to grow themselves and respond to not only the demand for more space, but also for more services by trying to evolve beyond basic transportation and warehousing services and providing more comprehensive end-to-end supply chain solutions, such as, getting into, B2B prep, order management, reverse logistics, and even in some cases, customer service. And then, Joe talked about, access to technology. And so, agree that, the barrier to entry on technology and services like a Shopify is, the cost and the complexity has come down quite a bit in terms of activating those individual tools. The challenge now is, how do I take all of those different tools and then integrate them into my logistics network? And so that's added a layer of complexity for these small and medium-sized retailers who are now trying to figure out which tools do I select, and then how do I pull them together into a cohesive, ecosystem. And so what we've seen is this has now further fueled the emergence and growth of the 4PLs and platforms like Where to Go, where we're providing the platforms and services that have this seamless interaction using partners like Pipe17, but also to provide data sharing and collaboration between stakeholders across their entire supply chain, because what they need is that real-time end-to-end visibility, predictive analytics, and optimization, so that they can manage everything, in some cases through a single pane of glass or through a single endpoint, to see everything from shopping cart to front door.
Yeah, fantastic. I think one of the interesting trends, when we originally founded Pipe17, we were surprised by was just the amount of custom software that's built, custom WMSs. It's still a thing for 3PLs to go and build out their own WMSs, which I found very surprising. I think some people have good reasons for it, but it is a surprising trend. So with that, I want to kind of maybe switch a little bit gears, because you have a bunch of attendees who are also brands and like they're thinking about 3PLs and what to do. And, Joe, obviously talk to brands probably on a daily basis. What changes have you noticed in terms of how they're looking at the 3PL selections today, and what are they looking for versus maybe a year and a half ago? And, what do you think are the important things for them to look at? I mean, you mentioned kind of one of them in terms of finding people that best suit your needs, but maybe help us with some general observations and then some specific ones.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the, core characteristics I see with 3PLs on our network being able to win brand business from the brands that we're introducing them to, and some of the things we cue brands in on as green flags for, hey, this could be a great option for you as a 3PL partner. So one, and this is never going to change, is pricing, right? So not only fulfillment service fees like your pick and pack, your storage, your receiving, but we tell brands to make sure that you're looking at the carrier rate pricing as well. So what does it cost to ship your 2-pound game zone 7 across the country, with 2-day shipping? So you need to make sure your carrier rate fees just as well as your fulfillment service fees when selecting a 3PL. 2, and this is a huge one, communication, right? So now it's becoming more and more common and best practice that 3PLs are able to offer Slack channel support or some type of real-time communication where you could communicate down to the warehouse level, and talk to people on the warehouse floor that are actually picking and packing your items. If you can do something like that and find a partner like that, you can have a 3PL that acts as a true extension of your business and not just a third party that's throwing your items in a box and shipping them out there. 3, shipping SLAs, service level agreements. So, one common example of that is if an order comes into your Shopify channel, your e-commerce sales channels, can it be picked, packed, and shipped within 24 business hours? This is a pretty common SLA in the 3PL industry. 4, scalability. So you can think of scalability in a couple of different ways, but most commonly, where's your 3PL geographically located? Where are they planning to expand to? How much storage capacity do they have? And what are their integration capabilities? If you're starting with a Shopify or a BigCommerce or a WooCommerce store, and you start to grow and become more omni-channel in nature, are they able to integrate to the Amazon FBMs and FBAs of the world, Walmart, eBay, Etsy, maybe some more one-off obscure channels that you're selling on, et cetera, et cetera. And then lastly, and this is something that I've been talking about more and more as well, and it actually kind of ties back around to what Aaron was talking about earlier, how there's so many different types of shipping and verticals and niches that, you know, the industry will probably consolidate to a point, but there's always going to be room for the little guys and the growing people as well, because there's so many different vertical specialties. And the last pillar here I talk about is niche value-added services. And an example of that would be, you know, we have apparel specific 3PLs on our network. So you can infer a lot about those specific 3PLs that maybe 80 or 90% plus of their customer base, they ship for apparel, but not only will they probably have great shipping rates for apparel sized objects, not only will they probably be great options from an apparel shipping perspective, from direct to consumer, B2B, retail fulfillment, EDI stuff, et cetera, but, you know, we have apparel specific 3PLs on our network that have access to, you know, 1,000 plus retailers. So if you have a great product and you're shipping with them, not only can they ship your product successfully, they can actually introduce you to retail connections that they have and start to act as a sales channel for you as well. So you can see the power of picking the right 3PL and the power of having lots more options than you used to in the past for all of these reasons that I've discussed right now.
Great summary. So Aaron, I'm selling some direct to consumer stuff. Is it really important that my future 3PL is next to a port or my house?
No.
So how do you think of this location question?
I'll just want to jump on something interesting that Joe said. If I can take a tangent for a second. Slack channel. So something we've seen a lot of. I love it. 3PL joint channel with customer, right? But super challenging because it's a tough way to take customer support tickets. So what we see some 3PLs doing now is integrating WMS and Slack. So, and if you want, you can ping me offline or whatever. I'll show you how to do it. But you can integrate ShipHero so that when a PO is received, it notifies a joint Slack channel with your customer. The customer then adds notes for that PO within that thread. It then, when it's closed, notifies the customer via Slack. So Slack's this amazing tool that can also kill your business, be a disaster, right? So you use it the right way, brilliant. So just, anyway, side point. Great tool. Everyone should use it. But just use it smart. Yeah, the dray, unless if you're a cross dock or you're just prepping products for Amazon, yeah, be close to the port because that's your cost is the drayage is an important cost. But the drayage, the inland freight, is insignificant for a brand using a 3PL or a brand that has their own warehouse. It does not matter. What matters is, well, first of all, what matters is a good 3PL that'll actually ship your orders on time, get them to your customers the right thing and not lose your stock, right? Once we get past that, what matters is, number one, the cost of shipping to your customers. That is the largest share of what you're going to spend. It's going to be 60% of what you spend is what you cost to ship to your customers. If you're shipping out of California, you're going to average more than a zone 6. If you are shipping out of Eastern Pennsylvania or Central Pennsylvania, where Joe's 3PL was, you're going to be closer to a zone 5. The cost difference there is going to be 3 or 4 times what the drayage is. Now, why do people care so much about the port? They can measure the inland freight cost. So they know, man, it's an extra $3,000 a container. They cannot measure their cost of shipping. They don't realize it's $12,000. So they optimize for the 3 because they don't understand the 12. So I'm here to tell you, it's going to cost you 12. Don't go to the port. That's A. B, if you have the right mix, use 2 3PLs, West Coast, East Coast, or more. Get your product more distributed. It's going to save you a ton of money. And if you're a 3PL selling to merchants and you get this objection about you're too far from the port, why am I using a 3PL in Missouri? It's super expensive to ship there. The data is on your side. You just need to learn the script, show the data to overcome those objections. But you will be able to provide a lower shipping cost not being close to the port versus the people close to the port. And the last cost is the cost of labor, which is also super expensive in Southern California. Way cheaper, basically everywhere else. More reliable, lower turnover, cheaper cost of compliance. So yeah, not a big fan of having your warehouse straight close to the port. Think a little bit more big picture. If you're a brand, think about the 3PLs that are more inland. You're going to net a better savings and probably have a better experience because they'll have lower turnover in their teams. So that's my be near the port rant.
Okay, great. So
I have an opinion on this one.
No, but of course. And on the brand topic, Brian, should I have as many 3PLs as I can possibly onboard if I'm a brand?
Probably, definitely not is the short answer. And I think what we say is more is not always more when thinking about what is the right number of warehouses to have in my network and where should they be positioned. And also it's going to vary by business, by retailer, which is why we spend a lot of time leveraging machine learning to continuously work with our retail customers to look at their specific data to answer that question, to basically pick what should be almost a tailored fit network for them based upon looking at things like end consumer demand patterns. So we'll look at not only just your SKU, your mix, your volume, but then we'll also look at distribution across geographies and also take into account seasonal variations. As Aaron was talking about, transportation costs play a huge factor also. And so we'll take a look at your transportation and your shipping requirements and the cost of looking at your current network and what your potential network could look like and how those costs could go up and down. Looking at shipping distances, the rates, fuel rates, the freight costs, because all of those things have an impact on your overall transportation, as a part of your network. Next, we'll look at your inventory and storage costs, right? Because the more that you're dispersed across a larger network will also have an impact on moving inventory to all of those different locations, and then also the storage rates that you're paying for each and every facility. And if you're in more facilities, you need to have inventory in more locations, which is going to tie up more of your capital. So we need to assess how the different configurations will also have an impact on those costs, and we minimize try and keep them minimized while also maintaining the service levels, which then takes us into fulfillment SLAs, because what we want to do is evaluate what a retailer's desired service levels are and order fulfillment expectations that you're setting with your end consumers. Are you guaranteeing 2 days or less? Are you trying to stay within a 2-day ground footprint? And that's one of our key value propositions at Where to Go, is to provide that prime-like experience, get it there 2 days as fast as possible, but also with the lowest possible cost, so that you're preserving those margins, but delivering on the expectations that your customers have set for you and you're trying to deliver to them.
Perfect. No, that's fantastic. So with that, so folks, there's a Q&A function on Zoom. So we're going to take a few questions and kind of intermingle them. So please put your questions in there. So there are kind of two questions around kind of how do the small compete with the larger 3PLs? And I think this is a great question. So there are really two questions on this. One of them, the rise of the boutique 3PL and the smaller players. This makes sense given what Ammar said, which of course it does. Although the barrier to entry may be lower, how do these people still compete from a labor perspective, as the labor pool is more competitive? So labor is one question. And then the barriers to automation. And there's a general question kind of around automation in general. So kind of two things, which is how do the smaller 3PLs win in general? And then B, on the automation side, and clearly we see an arms race going, inside the warehouse as it relates to robotics and various other things. So these are kind of two things. So who wants to pick up either of them or both of them?
I can start. So great question in terms of how can the little guys start to compete with some of the bigger dogs. And I can kind of give you a firsthand example of what some of my strategy was whenever I was growing ShipDaddy. And I tried to really rally behind the flexible fulfillment terminology. And what flexible fulfillment means to me, and what I would try and instill in our customers that we could do for them, was act as an extension of their business, right? And that's why I was using the Slack channel to have them be able to communicate with the people on the warehouse floor and be able to, drop in things like, hey, there was an address wrong on this order. Would you be able to change it up? Hey, here is our FBA requirements for labeling. The truck's going to come a week from now. Drop it in the Slack channel. Boom. So just being able to give a higher touch level of service than some of the bigger guys was what I would really rally behind in terms of what our value adds were over the bigger guys. And then once we got to the point where we were able to negotiate better shipping rates, that was one of kind of the biggest fallacies that I had about, the big guys, where I was like, oh man, how are we ever going to compete from a carrier rate perspective when these guys are pumping out, millions of orders per month, and we're just not quite there yet. But in reality, a lot of the bigger guys are baking in a decent amount of shipping margin, because as your organization, your operation gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it's much tougher to run a very efficient operation. So you have to bake in extra costs somewhere, right? So I was noticing that once we were able to negotiate even like pretty decent rates with DHL eCommerce, and we were able to offer good pick and pack rates, we were right up there with best in class pricing from a pretty early on stage in our business. And then the last thing I'll touch on is the labor. And that's one of the big things going into the 3PL. I didn't realize how important being able to have a great labor pool to pull from, how crucial that is to growing a 3PL company. And it starts to make sense whenever you look at the placement of some of these 3PL companies geographically. Like I toured the ShipHero's 3PL based in Allentown, and then you look next door and ShipBob's based out of Allentown. I think Red Stag has a location there. We're 2 hours down the road in central Pennsylvania. And one of the big reasons that a lot of people are located in that Allentown area is because there's such a great, vast labor pool of people you can pull from that you can pay not exorbitant Los Angeles, New York pricing, and you're able to retain good quality workers there. So I think that's
fantastic. So we're kind of coming up for time, so probably 60-second answers to this one. So I think anybody in the 3PL industry knows there's a lot of dating and marriages and divorces that happen in that. How frequently do you see this? And what is really, do you diversify? Do you add multiple 3PLs at the beginning? And what do you think are the catalysts that drive brands to change and add more 3PLs? I mean, all of you see this trend, and one of the questions came in from the chat. So I'd love to hear kind of what your general thoughts are. How should brands think about this?
Well, I think that, brands are certainly, are looking to diversify not only risk across, their existing 3PL network, or even if they're using some in-source facilities if they're larger retailers. But I think what they're also looking to do is, one, streamline costs and do the same thing that some smaller SMBs are doing, is to, optimize their network. I think on the 3PL front, certainly I'm sure that they see high turnover on the SMB front. And so I think that what we spend a lot of time doing is trying to really vet the business, the merchants, before we put them into a specific facility, because we do want a longer term relationship, because there are costs associated with moving inventory in, with standing them up. And you want that longer term relationship so that everybody has a longer term return on the investment. And I think that those are some of the key aspects that both sides should be considering.
Perfect. The automation, that's great. Maybe 60 seconds, Aaron, on this automation question and the arms race between kind of large and small, just because you kind of sit on both sides of the equation. What have you seen, or what do you think? How can the small compete with the big?
Yeah, so I mean, Joe hit a lot of the points. So we have 1 million square feet of our own space. we won't sign anyone who is doing less than $1 million a year in fulfillment spend. So we're not actually competing with most of the customers in the market. We have a really narrow ICP. We only want to sign the customers that we can serve really well, and they're pretty big, so we can serve them well. So most of the merchants that are going to go to the smaller 3PLs, there's not as much competition from the big ones as you would think. Yeah, maybe like a ShipHop, whatever, but you should be able to kick their butt on service levels, and you run your own building, and like you should be able to beat them pretty handily. In terms of automation, and hey, the big guys have all these, been in buildings of the largest 3PLs in the world. There's a lot less automation in those than you would think. They run good software with good teams, good process, good customer service. We're very far away from automation being the problem. In a decade from now, maybe we can have this conversation again. But for right now, they're running their 1.5 million square feet buildings the exact same way as you're running yours. Just you got to win on service, which you can.
Fantastic. That's a great answer. And then we will answer the questions that we haven't been able to cover. So for those that have asked questions, we'll make sure that your questions get answered. Final one, I'd like to keep to kind of 1 minute answer. So there are a couple of questions on specifically for Joe and Brian. How do you see the breakdown of 3PLs changing over time, specifically related to the size of the 3PLs themselves and the customers they serve? And I think, if you watch the private equity roll up, you'll see kind of where the question is driving at. So how do you see the breakdown of 3PLs change over time? And then the second kind of related question is, how should 3PLs be thinking about the categories of goods they fulfill? So are there certain categories that, like, in your view, are must win? So Brian, maybe you go first.
Yeah, well, I think there's lots of categories that 3PLs can support. The question is, are you set up to effectively support, those different types of SKUs and product mixes? Because, certainly, requirements within the facility to support a segment like apparel is going to require, it's all going to be about speed, volume, being able to move lightweight goods through the facility in order to, it's all about, how many can you crank out per minute per hour? And those requirements within that particular facility are going to be very different, for, product mixes that require maybe refrigeration or lot batch tracking, and that's where I think the 3PL and when we work with our customers, we want to find the right fit for the retailer and put them into facilities that can be best supported by the particular provider, because if the fit is not correct, we don't want to jam it in there, I guess is the best way to describe it, because it doesn't set anyone up to be successful. And I think that the market is big enough that 3PLs can select the type of space that they want to play in and they can be effective in, and win and grow and gain a lot of business without having to go into areas where maybe they're not set up so much to be successful.
That's fantastic. Great. Joe, maybe 30 seconds on how do you see the breakdown over time? Do you see specifically the size of the 3PLs and the size of the customers they serve?
Yeah, I'll keep it quick. And I think that the breakdown is going to start to go into different subcategorizations. So maybe like what Brian said, you have these major niches that are like a cold storage, a big and bulky, hazmat, etc. And then a deeper dive into like a sub niche of like apparel or cosmetics or board games. And then I think you're going to see that companies that are really successful in their individual niches are going to be, prime acquisition targets to get bought out by a bigger 3PL and be able to have this really great niche that operates under them independently.
Okay, that's great. Fantastic. So I think we're about to close. So I promised everybody I'll give them 30 seconds to talk about their product or service. So with that, Aaron, go.
If you're a 3PL and you're not using ShipHero as your WMS, why not?
So
Get me an Aaron at ShipHero. I'll help you out.
Aaron at ShipHero. Fantastic. That was quick. Brian.
Yeah, well, I would say so. If you're looking to outsource your logistics and technology to gain access to a larger network and connect all of your selling channels under one platform to manage and grow your business, come look at where to go.
Fantastic. Joe.
So we connect brands with the right 3PL partners. So if you are a brand that is evaluating, trying to figure out what your next 3PL move is, come to us. We'll help you do it the right way. And if you're a 3PL that's looking to grow and want to join a network so you can acquire more of your ideal customer profile, reach out to us as well. And we'd love to have you explore getting you on our network.
That's fantastic. Look, huge appreciation to all of you, Ammar, obviously, who gave us great data at the beginning, and then Aaron, Brian, and Joe. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Derric. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys all so much. Wow, that was truly amazing. And we definitely had to pack it all in there, right? We could probably go for another hour here or so. Thanks for all the applause in chat. Wow, I can see all that stuff coming in. Really cool. So thank you all for attending. Thanks again to our panelists, Brian, Joe, and Aaron, and our moderator, Mo. Thanks to our partners at Profit Trust, Capable, and Storeleads. And as a reminder, to get a $50 Noble gift card, say yes to a demo of Pipe17 today and attend your first meeting with a Pipe17 team member. As the poll is closed right now, you can email connect@Pipe17 or find us on our Contact Us page, and I'll share that with you right now. Other than that, we will be sending out a copy of this recording to everybody. So if there's any nugget that you want to go back on or anything you missed, you will be able to get this in a recap email tomorrow with some special offers from our panelists and partners. Thank you all so much. Really looking forward to continuing this discussion. I think we'll have to have this again in maybe 6 months to a year. What do you guys think? Yeah, I think it was really quite amazing. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you guys at the next Pipe17 webinar.
Thank you, everybody.